Здравствуйте, уважаемые трейдеры! Последние торги на Уолл-стрит показали смешанные результаты. Индекс Dow пошел вверх, тогда как S&P 500 и Nasdaq отметили снижение. Наметилась тенденция переключения внимания инвесторов с акций роста на акции стоимости, и это продолжается уже месяц. Акции технологического сектора, ранее показавшие значительный рост, активно продавались, в то время как акции стоимости привлекли покупателей. Ожидается, что во второй половине августа деловая активность немного утихнет. Период корпоративных отчетов за второй квартал близится к завершению. Предстоящая неделя предлагает меньше событий, и все же инвесторы надеются получить дальнейшее обновление о перспективах денежно-кредитной политики и силе экономики Соединенных Штатов. Ожидается протокол последнего заседания ФРС, отчеты о розничных продажах в США, производственной активности и финансовые итоги ведущих ритейлеров. Последний важный блок данных за отчетный квартал. Внимание привлекут Home Depot и Walmart. Оставайтесь с нами. Финансовый мир всегда полон сюрпризов и интересных событий. Досмотрите это видео до конца и делитесь своим мнением в комментариях. At the beginning of the week, investors tried to boost indexes, but they failed amid a negative news flow. Traders are worried about the global economy after turmoil and risk of default in China's largest private developer Country Garden and Changji Enterprise Group, a leading Chinese asset management corporation. Meanwhile, Tesla's shares slid by about 3% after the news that prices of the Y model dropped in China. Last week, investors relied on inflation figures, which turned out to be quite positive. Markets were analyzing various reports. According to them, the price growth slackened after reaching the peak, but were still above the Fed's target of 2%. Pessimistic traders who are monitoring the regulator's actions have focused on the so-called last mile problem. They suppose that to reach the goal, the country should overcome a recession and massive layoffs. Only this will stabilize rising prices. They are supporting the idea with examples from the history. Most analysts confirm that it's difficult to control such a high inflation rate without an economic slump. In this light, leading economists foresee a rise in the U.S. unemployment rate to 5 and 10% from the current 3.5. It means that millions of people will lose their jobs. Last week, analysts at the Richmond Fed stated that the central bank had entered unexplored territory. It managed to decrease inflation noticeably without spurring a jump in unemployment. Judging by the previous cycles of interest rate changes since the 1980s, the unemployment rate has become less volatile with each subsequent cycle. This is positive news for the officials who are trying to lower inflation to its target level, reducing risks to working people. It's too optimistic to expect that all the measures will not have a side effect. Nevertheless, the main reports are pointing to a positive outcome for the economy. Thus, traders' reaction is easy to predict. Last week, the Dow Jones climbed by 0.62%. Although we see an uptrend, it's very weak. Yesterday, the US indexes attempted to rebound but slumped to fresh monthly lows. This may confirm a change in market sentiment, and traders are in a state of euphoria and are not paying the necessary attention to possible risks. The indicators of inflationary pressure dropped significantly, while the key interest rates exceeded 5.5%. This means that the Fed now has favorable reasons to continue its aggressive policy. According to the CME Group, there is an 89% likelihood that the Fed will not change the key rate at the meeting on September 20. Notably, traders have already priced in this information. That's why overbought indexes and stocks may show a correction. Analysts at Goldman Sachs suppose that the Federal Reserve will start cutting the benchmark rate at the end of June 2024. Each quarter, the regulator will lower it by 25 basis points. The analysts have also emphasized that normalization monetary policy is not the current goal of the Fed. That's why they do not exclude a delay in the key rate cut. The S&P 500 also closed the week with an insignificant decline of 0.3%. The correction began, and the main question is how deep it could be. After an impressive rise in the first 7 months of the year, indexes lost about 4% of their highest levels. Traders may close short-term sell positions at the current prices. Those who are betting on a decline may keep their positions. However, it's better to revise stop orders. Traders are recommended to replace their stop orders on the S&P 500 above the level of 4,600 from the break-even point. Comparing the dynamics of the S&P General Market Index and the WIX Volatility Index, it can be seen that the WIX may grow to its all-time average of 20 points from the current 16 points. It means that the S&P, which usually moves in the opposite direction, may continue falling. Nevertheless, the long-term uptrend in the US stock market remains unchanged. The existing correction favors both those who bet on a decline and the long-term investors striving to buy stocks at an attractive price. The sharpest increase was recorded in the Nasdaq. It lost 1.9%. The indicator is trying to settle at the current levels despite a decline. However, the midterm uptrend could be violated. If the index closes below 15,170 points, this will be the main signal of the beginning of a downtrend. A breakout through the level of 15,000 by the end of the week will increase the possibility of a change in the market sentiment. Thus, we may see a correctional movement with an initial target at 14,700. The final target is located near 14,000, which is an important psychological and pivot level. Curiously, the recent jump in tech shares was not reflected in the income of such companies, even amid the euphoria about artificial intelligence. According to the Wall Street Journal, the current hype around AI may resemble the situation of the dot-com bubble in the 2000s. Meanwhile, most traders take a close look at Walt Disney shares. In the second quarter, the company issued a neutral report. Despite all the difficulties, investors believe that Bob Iger's return to a leading position at Walt Disney will boost profitability. The rise in popularity of theme parks may also push stocks up. The approximate price for the next year is $119 per share. Apple stocks also seem to be very attractive. Data from Markets Insider showed that since 2012, Apple has invested more than $500 billion to buy its own shares, surpassing the market performance of such companies as Visa, JP Morgan, and ExxonMobil. During the last year, the company invested $90 billion in this project, whereas since the beginning of 2023, it has bought shares worth $56 billion. Recently, Apple's board of directors improved an additional $90 billion in buybacks, which exceeds the capitalization of a Citigroup and is twice the value of Hershey. Мы продолжаем следить за ситуацией, чтобы вы всегда оставались в курсе всех важных событий. Не забывайте подписываться на канал и комментировать видео. Ведь мы работаем для вас, снимая самые актуальные выпуски каждый день и каждую неделю. На этом мы завершаем наш выпуск. До новых встреч на канале!